right there. Hey there, how you doing? Bobby Dirkens here. Thanks so much for joining me for a second consecutive, that's a big word for me, night of going over some of the more recent decades of Clemson football. If you're brand new here, I am Bobby Dirkens. You're welcome. Hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications. And what I mean by notifications, you see, okay, so look at, I always get mixed up which side it's on, but you see where it says subscribe. Okay, hit that first. You're like, well, hold on. It's telling me I got to create an account. Well, then create an account. You're an adult. It takes just a second. And right under there, there's a bell. You hit it, it will notify you when I go live and all that bunch of stuff. Tonight, we're going to talk about the 1990s. Yes, the 1990s in Clemson football. Now, I'm going to go ahead and warn you, for everybody out there who doesn't know that much about the Clemson 1990s, it was really bad. Not good. In fact, there was an old saying back in the early 90s when Ken Hatfield was coach, and I heard he was a really good guy, so I'm not knocking him, okay? But there was something, and I probably don't have it just right, but Frank Howard built it, Danny Ford filled it, and Ken Hatfield killed it. That's what they said. I think that Ken started leading it towards a different path, but I don't think that Ken was the one who killed it. I'll get to that in just one second. But anybody, I've seen a bunch of people join me here tonight. Thank you so much. I sure do appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I'm going to get in here and see who's in here. I got my trusty laptop here. Let's see who's in the chat, and I'm going to jump right in this thing. The Birdman made there to you. Tiger Nate, my big buddy. Good Lord, he's a big old boy. Big old boy. Nice as he could be. I bet he can throw a crazy right punch. Made there to you. Tiger Nate's my old boy. Tell you right now, if he'd give you the shirt off his back and he's wild as a bobcat. I like him. Made there to you. Talk to the Paul. If y'all don't know Talk to the Paul, y'all go find him right now. You have my permission right now. Stop watching my video. Now, you got to come back. If you don't come back, that's weird. But go find Talk to the Paul and subscribe to him. He's got some great hype videos. Love it. Bo Weevil. My favorite name. Bo Weevil. Good to see you. Good to see you in here. May there to you. Let me see who else. Tiger Raven 18 2018. May there to you. Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. If I've missed anybody in here, Lord knows I'm a fallible human being. It's more than possible. Y'all see this back here? My wife put this back here. It's called a diffuser. At first, I told her, I said, listen, we're not going to do that. This family's built on the Lord. We will not be involved in witchcraft. Then I found out it's just essential oils, and it does smell good. I'm just telling you, it smells good, but I ain't going no farther than that. Let's talk about the 1990s. So it was a very, very interesting time. Last night I talked about the 80s. We won the national championship in 81. NCAA sanctions. You got to remember that was really the decade for sanctions. Ask SMU. They'll tell you about it. But big error of sanctions for a lot of people. So Bobby Robinson, Danny Ford, they wasn't buddies. We'll put it that way. And there was a coaching change. And they hired Ken Hatfield. Now let me tell you a little bit about Ken Hatfield. Ken Hatfield, which is, let me see. He played football at University of Arkansas, won a national championship as a defensive back in 1964. His teammates was and is a who's who of college football, NFL football, and just football. His teammates was Jimmy Johnson of the Dallas Cowboys and the future Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones. That's a big deal. I mean, you got to remember that. That was a really, really big deal. Let me me see. I'm going to go down here and learn a little bit with you. Because in the majority of Ken Hatfield I just paid attention to was Clemson. He coached at Arkansas. I mean, didn't do too bad there. And then he got the job there at Clemson. He was only at Clemson from 1990 to 1993. He was 32-13-1. Had to deal with sanctions and stuff, but he was the last guy until Dabo Swinney to lead Clemson to an ACC championship, ACC title in the pre-championship era. But the season that killed him was 1993. It was awful. 92 was bad, but 93 is what got him fired, and that's interesting about it because we'll get into that. So let's dive right in here. So he takes over, and Clemson plays Illinois in the Hall of Fame Bowl. And we beat them 30-0. All right. Then the very next year, end up going Florida Citrus Bowl. We play California in the Citrus Bowl, and they spank our tails, 37-14. Very next season, we went 5-6. Now, how do you go from having all those talented players, sanctions or not, all those players and stuff, and you go from, you know what I mean, you go from doing well to not doing so well. And then you go 5-6. Doesn't make sense. See Ballard Sports Media in here. May there to you, Ballard Sports. Good to see you. And then, but as I said, 1992 season, 5-6. It was not good. Now I'm going to look at that 1992 season. We're all kind of hanging out here. If you're new to the show, you know, we just kind of chill out and, you know, pick and make fun, and God help us. All right, Clemson Football, if I can spell, 1992. Talk about the season 1992, because 1992 had a lot to do with 1993's firing. Now, you got to know that. You step back and you go, oh no it didn't, oh no it, yes it did. In that 1992 season, we ended up losing 24-20 to number 5 Florida State. Now when you consider that, you step back and you go, hold on, number 5 Florida State, you only lose by 4 points, it's no big deal. And you lose to Georgia Tech by 4 points. So at this point, you're 1-2. You won your first game with Ball State. You beat Chattanooga. You beat number 10 Virginia. It's hilarious. You beat number 10 Virginia. You beat Duke. Then you lose by 14 North Carolina State. You lose to Wake Forest. You beat number 18 North Carolina. You lose by 30 points to Maryland. And then you lose South Carolina. Okay, so there was a lot of, to me, if you really look back on history in this, and I know we're talking about the bowl games, but you got to get a feel of what happened in the early 90s to set up the bull crap that happened on for dang near 20 years, you know, 20 plus years. So that's what happened. So let's get back to this. So they go and they lose 1992. They don't go to the bowl game. Then they get to 1993 season. They win the Peach Bowl, but there's something odd about that game. Ken Hatfield ain't the coach anymore. Now, right off the top of my head, I can tell you who they lost to. Right off the top of my head. They lost to North Carolina, I want to say 24-0. lost to Florida State, who would win the national championship that year. They had a guy named Charlie Ward. Don't know if you ever heard of him. Heisman Trophy winner, you know. Lost to them 57-0 in Tallahassee. And that was bad. It was awful. But the game that really summed up everything is when they lost to Wake Forest on homecoming in Clemson. Now, I'm just telling you right now, you can listen to me. If you're like, losing to Wake Forest is bad, then it was really bad. Imagine if Clemson, over the next couple of years, started losing to, and you know Wake Forest has been a little better over the past few years. Last year, they had some really unfortunate injuries. They had some good moments. But just take a really bad team in the conference. Really, really bad team. Last year, it would have been Georgia Tech. Because they're rebuilding and stuff with Jeff Collins. I think he's a good coach. But imagine if Clemson started losing to them. And they lost to Florida State. They lost to Louisville. And stuff like that started happening. And it does not make sense why they're losing, considering the talent that they have. Now, I want to tell you about the 1993-ish season, somewhere in there. We had a top 6, top 5 recruiting class in the country. It was not like the cupboard was barren. You know? It wasn't like you were running grandpa out there to go play for Clemson. You had talent there, Lord. Good grief, what the blankety blank were you doing? And that's what happened. I mean, losing to that Florida State team would have been understandable. 57-0, no. Losing to Wake Forest on homecoming, no. I mean, you got to think Nelson Welch was playing for that team. There were a lot of good players playing for that football team. Okay, so they fired Ken Hatfield. They made the change to Tommy West. Now listen, I don't know Tommy West personally. Tommy might be a great guy. Tommy was the head coach at Memphis when D'Angelo Williams, or whatever his name was there. Listen, he made a lot of money coaching college football. He made a ton of money coaching college football. So before any of us can truly take a swipe at the man, just realize that even though he did not do so great at Clemson, in fact it was horrible, he made a ton of money. And went on to make more money. So you always have to take that in consideration. I don't know why Clemson hired Tommy West. I've heard the reasons. I've heard people explain it to me like I'm an idiot. Do you not get? Yeah, it was still a bad hire. Even then, it was a bad hire. So he takes over. They go to the Georgia Dome. They play in the Peach Bowl against a Bill Curry-led Kentucky. Yes, the same Bill Curry that sounds like a mortician when he's announcing games. And we beat them 14-13. Little did we know back in 1993, that was on December 31st, 1993, that we would not win a bowl game until December 31st, 2001. Almost a decade flipping later that we would not win a bowl game. I didn't say a good bowl game. I said a bowl game. So let's pause right here. All right? It's like taking a dump and you've been just squeezing your guts out. You know what? You know, you're just sitting there, maybe a little blood's in your poo. The first little part was really difficult. It was like you're giving birth to pulpwood or something. You know, sometimes you get in those moods. You're taking a dump and you just go, Lord, I just need to, you know. You've already started feeling your head's like, you're starting to go unconscious because it's been rough. You're giving birth, basically. So we need to do it. We need to stop right here. We need to think about this. 8 years. So when people look at people like me and Pigskin Pete, and they say that we just started pulling for Clemson in the past few years, I hate to tell you that my nerves would be better off if I had just started pulling for Clemson since about 2014. because I was living through it during this time. Lord, my nerves were shot, and they've been shot for years. We deserve what's going on right now. I enjoy every step of it, you know? I'm just telling you. Got Bubba Clemson here, says he's still got ticket stubs in a box in the basement, you know. But December the 31st, 1993 was the last bowl game that we won at Clemson until the 2001 Humanitarian Bowl against Louisiana Tech. I remember that game. I remember I went out to Applebee's in Seneca. I remember I was watching that bowl game. It was snowing up there. I want to say Roscoe Crosby was on the team. A guy, Joe Don Reams, he was the last player recruited from Seneca High School to play at Clemson until Braden Galloway. Now I want y'all to stop and think about that. 20-year difference. Braden Galloway, who's our tight end at Clemson now, was the quarterback at Seneca High School just a few years ago. That's where I'm from, Seneca. So, 1993, let's get back to it. All right, we took our break, now we have to go back to taking the dump because we ain't done yet. Flush. If you want to do a premature wipe, go for it. Just don't touch your phone because remember, you're going to touch it later unless you clean it. Anyway, 1993, we win that bowl game. We don't go back to a bowl game until the 1995 season. So 1994 season, I want to say we went like 5-6 again. It was a bowl of piss. I'm gonna pull that season up. So some of you are like, I thought you said the bowl games. I just want to talk about that 1994 season because to me that 1994 season said a lot. We went 5-6 that year. You got to think that there was a guy named Brad Scott who was coaching South Carolina Gamecocks. Brad Scott was offensive coordinator at Florida State when they won the national championship. Ran the score up on us. Okay, so let me tell you about the 1994 season. And I'll blast through this. Very first game we won 27-6. After that, we only won one ball game in the next 6. We lost to NC State 29-12. We lost to Virginia 9-6. We beat Maryland. I want to say that was homecoming. We lost to Georgia 40-14. Eric Zaire was the quarterback then. I'm not reading this, by the way. I'm reading the scores, but I'm not reading the Eric Zaire. I remember Eric Zaire was the quarterback then. Played what was number 15 Duke. Ray Farmer was a linebacker for them. Y'all go look up that season. That was a magical season for Duke. Lost to them 19-13 in Durham. Okay, so we're playing the defending national champions, Florida State Seminoles. And we lost 17-0. Andre, how many people remember Andre Humphreys? Y'all remember that? I remember him jumping up and picking off a pass in that game. It was incredible. Then we beat Wake Forest. We went to North Carolina. We beat them in Chapel Hill. We beat Georgia Tech 20-10. And then we went to South Carolina. Steve Tannehill was a quarterback. No, he came to Clemson. I'm sorry. Elsa was at Clemson. And they beat us 33-7. That's where they had the kickoff, where Clemson kicked off to them. One of South Carolina's guys receiving the kickoff catches the ball, runs up, turns, and throws the ball clear across the field. And they almost scored a touchdown and end up and scored. Blistered us, killed us. Absolutely hated it. Tim Jones was playing for Clemson. Louis Solomon was playing for Clemson. It was a rough season. It was a really rough season. Florida State went 10-1-1 overall that year. NC State finished second. Virginia finished 3. They finished number 15 in the country. So we got hammered that season. All right. We come back. So this is his second full season. All right. I want to say Nealon Green was playing quarterback for us at the time. You had Tony Horn. You had Dexter McClellan. You had Brian Dawkins. Need I say more? Raymond Priester was playing for us. Patrick South had switched. I want to say at that time he had switched from quarterback, which, by the way, he was the quarterback for us when we won the Peach Bowl. He switched to linebacker, was a way better linebacker than he was a quarterback. And that season we went 8-3. We went 8-3, 1995. And I'm going to look at this schedule, and then I'm going to speed this up. I know I'm 21 minutes in. Georgia ain't going to talk about Woody Hayes. I ain't talking about the 70s right now, but that's a fun one to talk about. So in the 1995 season, Clemson kicks off the season with Western Carolina. They beat Western Carolina. The very next week, #1 Florida State comes to town. Danny Cannell, Warwick Dunn. That was my very first Clemson game. My grandma took me there for my 13th birthday. Went to the game. Lost 45-26. We were happy to lose by 19 points. I'm just telling you. Very next week, beat Wake Forest. Then we lost to Virginia. Beat North Carolina State. Lost to Georgia by 2 points. Beat Maryland, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Duke, and beat South Carolina. And then it got bad. So we're like, everybody was like, we told you this West hire was a good hire. And then we go to the January 1st, 1996 Gator Bowl. And there was this guy who was playing, I don't know if y'all have ever heard of him before. He was playing quarterback for Syracuse. And he had this wide receiver who went on to do okay. Both of them was okay. A guy named Donovan McNabb, and he had a field day throwing the ball to a guy named Marvin Harrison. Beat us 41-0. At that time, I want to say it was the worst loss in a major bowl game by any team ever. We could not get 3 points on the board. You can't even kick a field goal? I mean, you had all that talent, and you couldn't at least just call it a gimmick play to get in field goal range, to hit a field goal. 41-3 is awful, but at least you got 3. Emory Smith was on that team. Emory Smith was a fantastic player. 41-0. Very next year, I say very next year, and you know the timelines. You got to think. Peach Bowl was the very next year, 1996. So technically, that was the 1996 Gator Bowl, and then we played in the 1996 Peach Bowl. But it was for the 1996 season. All right. So follow me. We played LSU, and we lost by 3 points to them. In the Peach Bowl, we lost 10-7. 10-7, we lost to them in the 1996 Peach Bowl. Lost to them. Very next season, we go back to the Peach Bowl. We play Auburn, and we lose 21-17. And that was the last season that Tommy West coached for. No, that was not the last season. The next season was the last season Tommy West coached for us. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, for anybody who does not know the timeline on Clemson football, and you don't know how Clemsoning happened with Tommy West and then Dabo Swinney, it took him a while to get the team out of it. This is where it really began. I'm serious. This is where it began. If you ain't paying attention to it, this is where it began. I'm going to go through some of these comments. Y'all forgive me for overlooking, but once I started diving in, you know. Bubba Clemson in here, may there to you. Sean D, may there to you. Let me see. George is in here. I've already seen that. Kenneth C, may there to you. Good to see you. Kenneth C, you said something well right there. The Hatfield era was a weird time. As you said, he won, but just did not really have the fans with him. Still don't know how he lost the connection. I agree with what you're saying, but when you lose to Florida State 57-0, and you lose to North Carolina 24-0, and you lose to Wake Forest on, and I'm not being condescending here, and you're coming off of a 5-6 season, everybody scratching their balls going, we should at least won 7 ball games. That's how it happens. That's exactly how it happens. And here's the deal. If you want to blame anybody for that hire and for Ford not being the coach anymore, I know the sanctions was going on. I know all of this, that, and the other. You need to look at the athletic department at Clemson during that time and Bobby Johnson. That's who you need to look at. All right? You need to look at that. We all need to look at them and go, all of you have master's degrees and PhDs, and you love to flaunt it in our face and tell us how we were, we don't know what we're talking about. Leave it to the professionals. And then you go and you hire, first of all, you just run off Danny Ford because you're sick of him. You're sick of his cocky tail because you know he got cocky at that time. And he came from an era, from a time when the football coach ran things. You cannot tell me that the administration at Ohio State ran Woody Hayes. That's why Woody Hayes punched Charlie Bowman. There you go. I gave it to you, George. That's why he punched him at the Gator Bowl. Woody Hayes knew he ran things. Bo Schembechler ran things at Michigan. You did not tell Bo Schembechler what to do. You didn't. And God knows you didn't tell Bear Bryant how to run his program. Or Bear Bryant would back over you in his vehicle. That's the era that Danny Ford came from. And Bobby Johnson was like, oh, I ain't going to do it. I'll burn this thing down before I let it keep going. And that's exactly what Bobby did. Anybody who pays attention to Clemson, anybody who's ever paid attention to Clemson football, and you're a bit of a historian, you don't have to know everything about everybody. I don't know everything about everybody. There's people who know way more about Clemson than me. But I'm just telling you, just listen to me. Anybody who knows and pays attention during that time, knows that who to blame for the 90s and the mess that ensued. So I'm going to go through here and I'm going to look at this. It was a very depressing time. Very, very depressing time. I'm going to go through here and see what I can find. Read a couple of these comments, get off here. George says Clemson history began with Dabo Swinney. Not too far off. Because until Swinney turned things around, other than a few upsets here and there, Clemson had not done anything significant since Danny Ford. You know, I mean, that's just true. I mean, that's just it. Let me see. A couple of retracted messages. I always like retracted messages. Going through here. Going through here, see what I can find out. Gabriel Vaughn may there to you. Talk to the Paul's already started a rally cry in here. He's fired up. I like him. I like that. Let me see. Bubba Clemson says, let me see. Bubba Clemson says two things here. Hold on, Dabo doesn't run things. He owns the school. I think, obviously, he runs things. I think that everything that went on, and I'm trying to stay off his stuff. Some people complained last night and talked to me about it. And I even pulled a video from last night because I even went down the road that I didn't even want to go down last night. May there to you, Clemson Carson. Good to see you, buddy. But we saw what ESPN and Sports Illustrated tried to pull with some of their writers, saying some stuff about Sweeney in the past few months. I ain't digging into it, I ain't going much farther. And they quickly found out the allegiance of Clemson to Sweeney. So, but I will say, though, he does run things. I still don't think that, given everything that's going on and so on, and please understand what I mean by this, he doesn't run it like Bear Bryant. He doesn't run it like Ford. He doesn't run it like, I'm telling you, they got away with stuff that even I agree was wrong. I mean, you know what I'm saying? There's some stuff they definitely reach, but anyway. Let me see. Let's look in here. So, Bubba Clemson said this really sums up the 90s and the higher. The 90s was, this is quoting Bubba Clemson, the 90s was when the academics and an egghead president thought football was secondary. We could post that as the banner over the 90s and not even talk about it. I could have just said that and then, you know, pick my butt and pick my guitar back here and then cut it off about 2 minutes. That's the truth. That is the truth. Go through here, I'm about to go. All right, so people talking about South Carolina in here, so you're definitely wasting your breath. I love watching them get all fired up and stuff. That's funny. But let's talk about Clemson football and let's close it. The 1990s to me is some of the most depressing era that you'll ever talk about, because though it was annoying, make you want to scream, Tommy Bowden was the best thing that happened to us until Sweeney came along. I know it got annoying. Trust me, I got annoyed with it. And I don't think that he was a bad coach. I stick to this. I think he just got burned out on coaching and just didn't care anymore. I mean, I really do. Now, that may not be the case. In fact, I hope that's the case, because that would explain a lot. If you still had to fire the coach and you were that nervous on the sideline, and I'm not being a jerk here, I'm just saying it. And you see he didn't take a coaching job after that. After he left Clemson, he did not take a coaching job. I mean, the Lord, even Mark Richt took 2 years at down at Miami. You know? I don't think that Tommy Bowden was a bad football coach. I think that he was just like, I'm done, but I'm going to keep going as long as I possibly can, but I am not going to lie awake at night worried whether we're going to win or not. And if we do, we do. If we don't, we don't. You know? And then I'm going to go ahead and switch over this. I saw y'all talking about this, and I want to tell you a very interesting story. So, South Carolina Gamecocks gets a 5-star out of Rabun County, Georgia. So, for all of you who don't know your geographicness of Georgia, so let's imagine there is Clemson, South Carolina. You drive over to Seneca, about 10 miles. You drive about another 20 miles on you have 123. If you go 123 and keep going, you end up in Toccoa, Georgia. Stevens County is out that way. That's where Torian Poole, who played for Tennessee about 15 years ago, somewhere in there, 10 years ago. That's where he's from. But if you get up there in Westminster, instead of going straight, you split off to, I think it's 76 or something like that. You're going to run all the way out to Clayton, Georgia. Now, you got to think where this youngin' is. He's way closer to Clemson than he is to Columbia, South Carolina. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that. He is way closer to Clemson. He's only about 50 minutes from Clemson. Maybe 60. Okay? But if you go out there, Raven County, Georgia, if anyone knows where Clayton, Georgia is located, Clayton, Georgia is in northeast Georgia, close to South Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia line, not too far from the North Carolina line. That's where this kid's playing ball up there. So, I've heard good things about him and so on. I'm just going to tell you right now, you can bring in a 5-star quarterback all you want to, but you got to bring in more than a quarterback. And then on top of that, you got to have this coaching staff to coach him. So, let's look at Tommy Bowden. Tommy Bowden brought in some really good talent. Had a lot of development issues. That's why we all got tired with it. And Bubby, you were talking about a great at Bobby Dirkens. Bowden bowed out. He was going to roll with that 8 to 9 win season as long as he could, and when it went south, he was like, "Yeah, I'm out." Pretty much. Do you remember how many years that we just wanted to get to 10 wins? T. Davis says he saw him play when he used to play in northeast Georgia. When you were in northeast Georgia, what part did you live? If you don't mind, in general area. Because we got some weirdos on here. Yeah, Clemson Carson. I remember Helensky. Them talking about Helensky, how they were saying he's the greatest quarterback of all time, and then they backed off of that. Deloniga. Yeah, you wasn't too terribly far from him. That's still a little bit of a drive out there. Deloniga, Ella-J, Blue Ridge, that area. I know that area. Ron Dye says, Bobby, I was on the sidelines many times. I knew Tommy Bowden was a good coach and good for us at the time. I do think he lost touch with his team and spent too much time on the golf course. Here's the thing about it. You would not, and I've met Tommy Bowden. He wouldn't know me from Adam, but he was a nice guy. I don't think that he was a bad person. As I said, I don't think that he was a bad coach. But you're right, he was probably over at the Reserve and at Cross Creek and a few other areas around there playing golf, and he just got sick of it. That Bowden name bought him a lot for a long time, because you got to think his daddy was hot stuff during that time. I'm not taking away from it. Going down through here, Luke Doty or Dottie or whatever his name, that guy from Myrtle Beach, is going to be the next thing, big thing now. And I'm going to tell you right now, if they continue to bring in really good quarterbacks, they're going to have to hit somewhere, because one of two things going to happen. It's either going to, somebody's going to finally come through and play well for them. But, really, let's lighten up. I get what I'm saying here. Don't y'all go, you mean you're going easy on the Gamecocks? I'm not going easy on the Gamecocks. I'm talking about Helensky. Helensky is a good quarterback. What did he really have to work with, y'all? Really? What did he have to work with? Look what they did to Jake Bentley, their Lord and Savior. They underdeveloped the guy. So what I was saying was, they're either going to develop one of these guys, or these 4- and 5-star quarterbacks are going to turn and go, well, they didn't develop Helensky, and they didn't develop that Doty guy, And this Gunner kid, he might decommit. I mean, you can ask Clemson about players. We've had a lot of people who's committed and they've stayed with us, but we've had people who's committed and they've left. They've skipped town. Like that youngin' out in California, can't even remember his name anymore. I don't mean that bad. I'm just saying we've had so many big commitments. Let me see. Any more? Anything else? And here's what's interesting. Jake Bentley's mother commented on my video about Jake Bentley. Told me she agreed that he had been undeveloped. She agreed that basically he should have never went to South Carolina. So, very nice woman, by the way. But, and then you think about Bentley. Bentley going to Utah, and then the Pac-12 and all their great glory, they canceled the season. Which I think they should just let them boys, they should give them, I think they're going to give them like an extra year of eligibility or something like that. I don't know really. You know, I hate it for the kid because I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I was there the night that he torched Clemson for 510 yards. You don't come out and play that good and not have it in you. The deal is that you have to come out. You have to have a coach there, whoever it is, your positions coach, the people around you, developing you to where that diamond in the rough is, you know, turns into what it is. You're not always, you know, you're not part rough and part diamond, you're diamond. And they just never did it for me in South Carolina. T. Davis said, she's a nice woman. Bentley's dad was my coach in high school there at Burns High School. In fact, I'll tell you right now, just a few days ago, I passed by Burns High School. So, it's crazy. You're from this area. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's good stuff. It's my world. There we go. Let me see. Well, listen, I'm going to let y'all go. My wife, she's already slid a little love note up under here. She wants to see me sexy. I mean, you could blame her. I just got my hair cut. A lot of y'all been telling me I've been looking rough. You're like, Bobby, you look like hell came up and mugged you. Well, first of all, that's awful of you. I'm a handsome man. Second of all, it's time to get my, you know. So was there a request in there? George said he wanted the dookie chicken. How many people here by show of hands and likes and thumbs up would like to hear dookie chicken? Pick your dookie chicken if you want to get it right. I don't know if my guitar's in tune back here. Alright, here we go. I'm just going to play just a few stanzas here. Sound like a cat barfed. Hold on one second. I'm going to tune this thing. I owe it to y'all to play a tuned guitar. Like I'm reaching down here to get felt like a cow was giving birth to a mouse, and I was reaching in the nether regions trying to find that mouse. In a cow. Y'all give me a second, I'm tuning. This is getting good. D. My G string's out of whack. There's a great joke in there somewhere. Let me tell you right now. I don't care what devil in hell has been tormenting you this week. I don't care if your wife left you for your brother. I mean, if he makes more money than you, did you really think you were going to keep her? Anyway, I don't care if you walked in on your grandparents rekindling the fire in the birthday suits. This song right here will make it right. Go ahead and pack your dookie chicken, go do what you do best. Go ahead and pack your dookie chicken and the tigers will do the rest. Take a fish out of water and try to make it drive a car. Even if you're drunk, you know it won't get too far. Just like those losers from Columbia in the armpit of the state, running their mouth, pissing people off, claiming there's something they ain't. Sing with me. Go ahead and pick your dookie chicken, go do what you do best. Go ahead and pick your dookie chicken and the tigers will do the rest. Go to the bridge. You know Clemson plays great football without a doubt. Good Lord, yeah. But you boys are really good at eating dookie for a snack, 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 snack. Go ahead and pick your dookie chicken, go do what you do best. Go ahead and pick your dookie chicken and the tigers will do the rest. Let's end this sucker. Go ahead and pick your dookie chicken, go do what you do best. Go ahead and pick your dookie chicken and the tigers will do the rest. The rest, the rest, the rest, rest, rest. Tell you right now, there's people been ready to jump off bridges and they've played that song to them. Turned around with a new lease on life. Didn't even need counseling. Good to see y'all. Love you. You be good. You take care of yourself. I'm Bobby Dirkens. You keep showing up. And Lord, even if you don't keep showing up, I'll keep showing up.